right, I am really excited to welcome everybody out to BizNinja Radio. We have a cool guest who is always full of energy, as we just learned. And not only because he has a great temperament, a great view and outlook on life, but also because he's highly caffeinated.
Yeah.
I want to welcome out to the show, Kevin Clayson.
Hey, what's up, man? How are you? Good to be with you, Tyler.
I'm loving it. So Kevin wrote a book. It felt like, it was in him, and he had to write this book called Flip the Gratitude Switch. Tell us why. Tell us the full title of the book and just kind of like the overview, and then let's go into it.
Yeah, so Flip the Gratitude Switch is the title, and the subtitle is A Simple Formula to Change the Trajectory of Your Life. And the reason for that is I came to realize what I ended up writing in the book was exactly that. It's this tiny thing that seems so simple. And once you read the book and you learn about it, it seems intuitive from that point forward. But up until you actually recognize it for what it is, it's something that we just don't do. But what it really does is it gives us the ability to boil down life into small bits and into moments. And then there's something we could do inside of the moment, especially when it's frustration that we're dealing with, or hardship or trials or whatever. And there's a simple decision we can make inside of that moment with this formula that literally will alter the trajectory of that moment. And I just came to realize that if you alter enough moments, you alter a life. And so that's really what it's become, is sort of this guiding principle and guiding light for me, for my wife, for our family, and now for thousands that have read the book and are really benefiting from it. And it was one of those books, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but sometimes authors go out to write books, and then other times a book finds an author. And this book found me. I had no intention on writing it. I never knew that I'd write a book on this topic. And what ended up happening is I got to a point in my life where it was just kind of dark. Things were not going fantastic. And I don't know, we all struggle, right? We all hit rock bottom. But I've come to realize that my rock bottom can be different than your rock bottom. And I don't have to compare mine to yours, right?
Right.
Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, wait a second, you dealt with, drug abuse, and, your mom was a prostitute. Like, that could be your rock bottom, or it could be what mine was, which was I was stressed, tired, frustrated, underpaid, overworked, and had no idea how to fix my life. And that was my rock bottom. And it was in that moment that I ended up discovering something that absolutely shifted everything. And it made such a big, tremendous shift for me in my life that, you do this thing when you find something awesome that impacts you, you have a tendency to share it with other people.
Right.
So I started to share this thing with other people. And that's when it hit me. Well, it didn't hit me. Everybody said, you got to write a book on that. You got to write a book on that. And so I did.
Yeah. And so now we have it. We have
we've got it.
Gratitude Switch.
That's right.
And so a couple of things in that. One, you talked about altering those moments, and in business and marketing, we always talk about that perception is reality. And what you're essentially saying is if you alter enough of your small perceptions, that you change your reality. And is a lot of times it as simple as how you choose to face a situation.
Yes. And here, it's not just how you choose to face a situation, it's how you choose to interact with it the moment that it comes. Okay. So let me kind of clarify, because there's a lot of sort of personal development stuff out there. I've got a friend of mine that owns a company. They do these events where it's all about overcoming your limiting beliefs. Right. And they boil everything down to this idea of overcoming limiting beliefs and breakthrough. And they almost push it so far as to say, how dare you have a bad life ever? How dare anything go wrong? If you've managed to tackle all your limiting beliefs, everything should be cheery and it's puppy dogs, sunshines, and lollipops forever, right?
Right.
But you and I know that the reality is frustration will come, little things will happen. And this is a big key. Little things will happen. We know the big stuff's going to happen.
Right.
But how often do little things happen and we don't realize how they're impacting our view of that moment or our view of reality? So let me give you an example.
Yeah.
So my wife, just tonight, we were doing some Christmas shopping, right?
Yeah.
Went to the Toys R Us, and it was super busy because they're having this sale, and she couldn't find what she wanted. And she was trying to find, there was like one manager that was running around trying to get stuff for people. And she was noticing, because my wife is an amazing ambassador for the message and for the book, because she, like we've taken this thing and really sort of weaved it into the fabric of her everyday existence. And everybody around her was getting so bugged, right? And let me tell you what probably happened when they were bugged. When the manager came out, they probably snipped at him. Maybe they snipped at the cashier. Maybe they went home and they're frustrated and they talk to their spouse or their kids. And it could be something as simple as the kid comes up and like, not right now, I'm busy. And now all of a sudden, that kid is like, oh my gosh, mommy doesn't love me. So there's all of these little things. Well, my wife, she called me afterwards and she's like, Kev, she's like, because we call each other when we have experiences where we realize that the message from the book, I want to be clear, not the book, because it's not the book and it's not the author. It's the message that was delivered to me and the message that I feel like we're able to use. We call each other when the message really impacts us and we're like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. She called me and she's like, Kev, I didn't get frustrated one time. I didn't get angry one time. I ended up having great conversations. And I came home and now I'm happy. And she's calling me and she's saying, I just want you to know how thankful I am for you and for the book. And we're having this like moment when normally it would have been like, oh, I can't believe she decides to go Christmas shopping right now and I've got to put the kids down. Tiny little frustration.
Right.
They're going, oh, it's so busy and the manager, blah, blah, blah. Those little tiny moments those moments can change the trajectory negatively, just like we can do what I call flip the gratitude switch and change them positively. And I have a couple examples of this in the book. There's an example that I wrote where there's a guy and he goes through the same day 2 different ways.
Right.
And it all starts with a single decision in the morning. And that one single decision takes him in one way, and then we replay it if he would have made that decision a different way. And you get to see sort of the 2 timelines that happen as a result. And here we just don't realize that it's the small, daily, frequent frustrations that come up on an all too regular basis that we generally let wash over us that cause our quote unquote bad days or our stress.
Right.
So we can go find that moment and almost like a sniper, attack it, recognize it for what it is when it's there, and then do something with it. It changes that moment, and that ultimately is what changes our life.
So I think when we talk about like the impact and trajectory, I think it's important to kind of identify the fact that one small thing, both either positive or negative, can create a domino effect that really like goes a far way, right? And one thing, I mean, there's been some really funny, like not funny, but really impactful commercials on like somebody making that one happy, like a positive change, and it goes forward. I mean, there was the movie, whatever, Pay It Forward or whatever it is.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And so, but there's a lot of times that we see it. But I think in daily life, like what you're saying, sometimes it's easy to understand on a macro level.
Totally.
But on a personal, individualized micro level, where not only that one thing creates a domino effect of our own emotions, but also how it impacts the people around us. Right.
That's the key. Yeah. That totally is the key, because really, I mean, if you think about this thing that we've got that's life, that's awesome, and we have this opportunity to sort of interact with it, it's just that, right? It's coming at us whether we want it to or not, right? The problems, the frustrations are going to happen anyway. We have people around us that we get to love and take care of. And if we can't make certain decisions or do certain things that will allow us to be a little bit more happy or have a little bit more gratitude or just be a little bit more thankful for the small things, what happens with our children? So, I mean, I love this because Flip the Gratitude Switch has changed my life. It's changed my wife's life, and it's changed the lives of our children. And we have these incredible, thankful kids. And whenever we take them anywhere, right? Because they see how full of gratitude we try to be, because we take every frustration as an opportunity to feel and express, and really, in the book, I call it active gratitude. So I believe gratitude is something you do, not something you feel. Sure. A lot of us think that gratitude is this emotion that washes over us. A lot of us go, what's already good? Hey, I have hands. I'm thankful for that. Right. And we like write it in a journal. Okay. That's not a bad thing to do.
Right. That's momentum. You might need to start there for someone, right?
Yeah, totally. You can totally start there, because if you've never been thankful, start being thankful for what's good and what's around. But where it can really have a powerful impact on your life, and we've seen this with our kids, is when things happen that have a tendency to be sort of frustrating or give you, I call it the Incredible Hulk moment. Cause like Hulk, before he gets all green, he gets really angry and it's like, raw. And then but we have those Incredible Hulk moments all the time. And if we can learn to be thankful in our current circumstances, whatever they may be, what we end up doing is living this incredible life where we're not trenched in the poverty of discontentment, but rather we have this unbelievable life of abundance and joy, and not just abundance from like a financial standpoint, but really just being able to be okay with what is, because that changes things. And our kids have been this way, right? So most kids are like, I want more. I want this. They're like Veruca Salt from Willy Wonka, right? It's like,
absolutely.
I want today. I want tomorrow. Yeah, that's right. They're singing Willy Wonka, bro. But that's kind of how, but our kids, what they'll do is they catch themselves. Like today, we took them to ice cream. And after ice cream, they're super thankful. As soon as we left, they're like, thank you for taking us, which they always say. Even our 3-year-old, it's amazing. And then my daughter caught herself because she was like, Dad, when we go home, can we have a movie night? And then I was like, well, and she's like, oh, wait, I shouldn't ask for more because we already had a really fun day. Yes, exactly. Be thankful for what's there because it was awesome. Instead of, I want this, I want that. Now this isn't good enough. And now I'm mad at mommy, and now I'm mad at daddy, and now I'm mad at brother, and everything's terrible. And I really want that toy, and I don't have, and it's just forget it. We get to just break it all down to these moments and these choices where we've been able to teach our kids, as we've taught ourselves, to feel and experience and really activate gratitude in those moments of frustration. And it's been just, like a literal game changer, top to bottom, totally shifted the way we interact with life and with our family.
How long has this been? Like I know it's relatively new, but it is already out there. People can come to your book, flipthegratitudeswitch.com, or people can get it at Amazon. Like, but how long, when did this kind of all happen?
Yeah. So, I really started to intensely write the book, in 2015.
Okay.
I started a little bit of a pre-process in 2014. Around October of 2014 was when I started to actually do the book. Now, to back up to when life started to change for me, it was really around like 2012, right? When I kind of had that moment of like, oh my gosh, this is actually more like 2011. It was 2011 into 2012 when I was kind of like, oh my gosh, everything is terrible. I just can't catch a break. Dude, this is just ridiculous. I'm like, nothing was good enough. And I was depressed and all of that. And that's when I kind of discovered some things. And so it was really all of like 2012 that I started to really work on me. And then in 2013 is when I started to like share it with other people. Little by little, people started to go, wow, this is really awesome. I started to write some blog posts. People were like, you got to write a book on this thing. And then it was October of 2014 that I said, I'm going to write the book. I don't know how I'm going to write the book, but I'm going to start writing the book. And I started by interviewing people that had unbelievable life experiences, right? Like everything from Olympic athletes all the way down to just like normal everyday people like you and me. And we have people that lost legs, people that were disabled, people that lived through the Columbine shootings, as well as just moms and dads that are struggling, women whose husbands cheated on them, and men who were over in Iraq and Afghanistan, and just all of this stuff. And literally the interview went like this. So has gratitude played a role for you in your life? Like that was like it. I wanted to know, was it a turning point? And so the thought was I was going to take all those interviews, transcribe them, and there was my book, right?
Right.
Yeah, God had something else in mind. Because I strongly feel that had I not had that idea to go through those interviews, I may not have ever written the book, because what it at least allowed me to do is take some form of small action, which as entrepreneurs is the biggest key, right? You can't sit back and wish a business into existence. You have to do one thing. I tell people all the time, if you want to write a book, stop talking to me about it. And here's what I want you to do. Write one word, but do it today.
Right.
Right? Like do something and you'll at least be in motion and working towards it. And that doing those interviews was kind of like the one thing that got me off my butt. And so then when it rolled over to 2015, I was like okay, I'm writing this book. And I started to just type stuff out. And I started to think, maybe I'll fill up the in-between between like the interviews with some, insights. Well, those insights took over the book, and there's not a single interview in the book. And I ended up writing the book in a totally different direction. And about halfway through the writing process, I went, I think I should write a fictional story for it. I'm like, wait, who is talking right now?
Right.
Some of my favorite books, right? The Go-Giver and Who Moved My Cheese and, like Patrick Lencioni, like story type stuff. And man, I started to write a story. I had never done that before. And it is now what in essence is the first part of the book. And somebody could just read that section and forget the rest of the book and have their life changed from it. But what the book ended up becoming as it evolved. So even as the initial draft was done, and then we started to just continue to add and shift and change things, it became this entirely new monster where there's really 4 parts of the book. I've never seen a book written like this. And it might be because it's not even intuitive, but it ended up working really well. The first part of the book is just kind of like the precursor stuff. Like, let's lead up and lead you in. And then the second part of the book is the story. I wrote that story. Well, that's really kind of still part of the first part of the book. It's like all of the precursor stuff in the story, and it's really cool. The second part of the book is all my backstory. Right? It's like, how did I discover it? Where was I, and where did I go to figure all of this out? Then the third part of the book, I go into the flip formula. So flip the gratitude switch isn't just a fun little thing. FLIP is actually 4 steps of the formula, which is the thing that you do the moment the frustration comes up so you can change the trajectory of your life. So the third part of the book, I go through each of the steps in tremendous depth with lots of real life examples. And the fourth part of the book, we just bring it all home. We've got the scientific research in there. We've got some other almost more like prose, like blog type posts where we're really just throwing some stuff in there. I'm talking about social media and why we're generally unhappy and things that we don't realize are impacting us. I have a chapter that I call, and this goes back to your point earlier in the interview when you said perspective. So perspective is everything. And I talk about in the book, I say, perspective is a matter of slipping on a pair of gratitude glasses or viewing the world through what I call the lenses of limitation, right? And it's really, I have this whole parable of like, imagine you take a day off work because this awesome movie just came out, right? You're so pumped to see this movie. And you go pay the ticket and you're like, this ticket's more expensive than I thought, but it's okay. You get your popcorn, you get some frozen Junior Mints because those are better, right? And then because they are. And then you go in and it's like, IMAX, you're ready to rock. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be an incredible movie. The movie comes on and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be intense. And it's blurry. And you're like, why? Really? I just paid. It's blurry, but you're still watching it. You can still hear it. You can get a feel for the story and you're kind of seeing some of the action, but it seems like it slips in and out of focus. And at some point you look around like, is anybody else experiencing this? You realize you're alone in the theater and you just watch the movie. And you go, well, it's pretty good. I don't know why it was blurry. Seems kind of weird. As you walk out of the theater, the attendant says, please deposit your 3D glasses right here in this receptacle. And you're like, it was 3D? I didn't even have glasses. What? And so think about this, right? How often, see, the movie played out. The action sequences were still there. The dialogue was the same. Everything was the same, but a simple shift in perspective, if we would have slid on a pair of 3D glasses, that's what life is like. It's the difference between viewing it through lenses of limitation. There's not enough. There's poverty. Somebody sucks. My boss sucks. The economy. Everything is affecting me. I'm not affecting it versus gratitude glasses. Wow, that wasn't perfect. How do I find a way to be thankful for it? Wow, look at the lesson that was in it. Holy cow, things are better, right? And so it really is just this shift in perspective that could be relatively simple and tiny, but the impact of it is absolutely life-altering.
Yeah, I could just let you keep chatting on this. I think this is it's like you're not even passionate about it.
No, I don't even care. That's why who cares about this stuff? Yeah.
So clearly you don't, this is just a passing hobby.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So, obviously, one of the things you go through, you said, is your backstory, and we won't dive into that too deeply, but really, I'm just curious, you're a father, you're a businessman, you've got a lot of things going on in your life. You've talked a lot about kind of how it's impacting you in a personal way. And as a parent, how has it changed your perspective and your trajectory as an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh, man. It's everything. And here's the reason why. So I have failed so much Like, it's ridiculous, right? It's like, and I no longer view it as failure. Like, now it's just a stepping stone to success as opposed to failure. But in the past, if something wouldn't go my way, right? I wouldn't win the customer. I didn't get the client. The big contract I thought I was going to get didn't come through. It was like this downward spiral, right? It was like, oh, I'm a failure. This is terrible. Why did I do this? I'm not making any money. We own these companies. It doesn't work. Everything sucks. And it was just sort of, I would go into this sort of daze of depression. And it would take me days, if not weeks, to pull out of that tailspin. It would take something really big and really good to kind of pull me up from the nosedive. So what happened is, I got so low when I ended up deciding that I tried everything, nothing was working. Maybe this idea of gratitude could be a difference maker. But the problem was, at that time, because I didn't know what I know now, I was still operating under the misconception that gratitude is a feeling and it's an emotion. In the book, I talk about gratitude's not a noun, it's a verb. And I say we got to verbify gratitude and make it this sort of active thing that we do. And I didn't know that, because I tried to gratitude journal. It didn't really work. I would try to do gratitude walks, which, not to knock them because they could be really beneficial, but it's just like you walk around like, I'm thankful. I feel like Brick Tamlin from Anchorman. I love lamp, right? I mean, that's like literally how it feels, is like, just, I love this desk. This is nice. And it's not a bad thing, like I said earlier, but it just wasn't the game changer for me.
But do you think it was still one of those stepping stones, kind of like the interviews were for you?
It was
It ended up not being the piece, but it was the thing that got you to now understanding that it was you got to verbify gratitude, right?
Yeah.
First, at least start understanding the noun part of it.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it was the equivalent of starting to change your diet from really unhealthy to healthier, as opposed to going from like, I eat nothing but terrible food, and then tomorrow I'm only going to eat celery. Like,
and it's funny you brought that up. So in fitness, we call it the pendulum of fitness. So like, you typically don't move from healthy or really unhealthy straight linearly across over to like healthy, and the opposite. Sure. It takes, there's a swing that has to happen. Yeah. And so the same thing has to happen really in any life changes. Really, it's not it doesn't just go straight. And so oftentimes that education or those things, like you said, going from really healthy food to, or like you said, eating crappy food, right? And just saying, okay, today I'm going to have one less Snickers. Right?
Exactly. That's right. I'm going to drink one less can of sugary soda, right? Like, or I'm going to switch I'm going to switch from regular Coke to Diet Coke to at least eliminate calories, right?
Absolutely.
It's something. And so for me, beginning to sort of do something that was in conjunction with gratitude began to definitely move the needle. I mean, I knew that I was starting to feel different, but I just wasn't seeing sort of like that game changer yet. I didn't have the aha moment. And what I ultimately ended up realizing, which has been the biggest blessing to me as an entrepreneur, is that I don't have to wait. See, here's the deal. When I was sort of, if I was doing a gratitude walk or even a gratitude jar or like a gratitude journal, there was like these moments that I'd sort of selected to choose to feel gratitude, right? It's like, I'm going to write in my gratitude journal before I go to bed, so I'm thankful for, and then I go to bed. The game changer became when I started to do what I started to call flipping my internal gratitude switch, which is why Flip the Gratitude Switch, the name of the book, just all worked out well. But what it felt like is I'd get these moments, and then internally I would just go, whoa, I don't have to. Okay, I'm just going to be thankful for that thing that just happened that wasn't great. I just got a rock chip in my window. That sucks, but you know what? I'm glad it didn't shatter the window. And you know what? I've got insurance. I could run over to Jiffy Lube and get it taken care of for free. And actually, man, I love this car. Like, and what happens is when you start to find gratitude inside of frustration, you enter what Dr. Alex Korb calls the virtuous cycle, which is where one thing after another starts to hit you. It's like, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for this. And all of a sudden things begin to transform. But the big moment for me was realizing that I didn't have to wait for a certain time in the day to try to experience gratitude, that I could feel it actively and in a moment, and especially when frustration would come up. So now, as an entrepreneur, now when I lose the deal or I don't get the sale or something falls through, it's like, It's totally fine with me. It's not this downward spiral of depression. It's like, okay, cool, pause. So what did I learn? What could I have done better? How did that actually still end up really benefiting me? Because this is awesome. Man, I lost that deal and I spent an hour to put together this package that would show them how cool it was. Well, guess what? Now I have that package to show anybody else in the future.
Right.
That's awesome. I don't have to recreate it. This is amazing. Holy cow, I'm going to make more phone calls because now it's going to be easier for me to get the next deal. Yeah. As opposed to, I just spent all this time and he said no.
Right.
Now what do I do? Right? So it was that change. And so as an entrepreneur, dude, it has been a game changer, like monumental shift in terms of how I interact with business and sort of just daily experiences really altogether.
So you're definitely more Tigger than Eeyore now, that's for sure.
Oh, it's funny you bring that up because I talk about Eeyore in the book, and on the audio, I even try to impersonate Eeyore's voice because, like, yeah, dude, where Eeyore lives, right, is it's the swamp, rather boggy and sad, right? Like that's where he lives, and now I'm definitely like the wonderful thing about Tigger Earth, and I'm jumping all over the place. And so it's funny that you bring, because I actually use that in the book as like Eeyore is sort of the thing that most of us are like. We're all like, if you ever watched SNL, do you ever remember the sketch? It was Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
Right? And everyone's like,
absolutely.
the party's amazing. And she's like, did you know 5 people an hour die at parties or whatever?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, I'm not that guy. I'm the other one. And I'd rather be obnoxiously happy because it means that life for me is awesome all the time, as opposed to the one that's always dragging down everybody else.
You know, when we make massive changes in our personality and in our life, oftentimes the people around us don't all want to come with us. I mean, it sounds like your wife did, so that's good. And did you find yourself having to almost like, did some people in your circle just not want to come along on the ride? And
oh my gosh,
you distance them themselves?
Facebook is awesome because I would get messages like almost people sort of angry at me.
Right.
I thought life was awesome, right?
How dare you say things are good right now?
Yeah, it was like that bad. And I've even had people tell me that they're like, I don't comment on your Facebook. And I'll be honest, sometimes I read it and I go, is this guy for real? And it's almost sort of annoying. But then I realized you actually believe it. And then all of a sudden, they get on the train as opposed to just being judgy judge faces, right?
I think a lot of people perceive when somebody's being super positive, most people, just because of how long they've been kind of riding in the negativity, I think they make that first assumption that this guy's putting it on. It's an act.
Totally.
And my whole thing is I would still rather have somebody act super happy than just be a complete douche. Right?
Yeah, fake it till you make it.
Right.
And what's cool is like I've now had on many occasions when somebody is sort of down in the dumps. See, everything's changed now because I've lived it so long and I wrote a book on it. Like I'm not messing around. Like this is the real thing. That now those same people that were judgy judge faces go, hey, my friend Kevin wrote this awesome book, or the downer person. I've had this happen where I get a message on Facebook and they go, I don't know how happy you are, but I'm going to be honest. I'm having trouble smiling right now. What can you share with me that would help me? And that's awesome. Because now I get to do what I literally feel like I put here to do, which is to give people this simple, easy way to shift everything in a moment where you can take a moment and change the trajectory of your life when you understand how simple that moment is to change. And you change enough moments become lifetimes. And that's been really, really cool to kind of see that. In fact, just the other day, my niece, who she's in high school, so it's on my wife's side. She's really struggling and having a hard time, post this thing on Facebook. And it was just like super like, I'm sick of being sick. I'm sick of this. Nobody understands me. And it was what so many of our teenagers experience. Right. And a number of people, including my wife, said, you should get Kev's book. You should get Kev's book. You should read Kev's book. And I'm like, I want to be that. I want somebody to feel like they don't know what to do when they say, go get Flip the Gratitude Switch, because it changed my perspective. So I messaged my niece the audiobook, right? Just 2 days ago. And she messaged me today and she said, I'm really getting into it. It's already shifted my perspective on a lot of things. Dude, are you kidding me? Like, how do you put a price? Like, that is everything to me, because it's not just what if it changes her for now. As soon as you understand the message of Flip the Gratitude Switch, read the book, listen to the book, understand the flip formula, you won't forget it for the rest of your life. And what'll happen is you'll know that gratitude could be a difference maker for you. And even if you choose to say gratitude, I'm so used to being like wading through the quagmire of crap in my life that I just want to hang out there and marinate in the manure. Like, some of us just make that decision, but you'll know in the back of your mind, I don't have to, because there is something I could do. And I hope that people will go back to the book again and again and again and understand that they can shift that perspective and make that change. And that's what it's meant for me and my wife. We're not perfect at it, right? It took my wife longer than it took me. And by the way, I will share this little piece of advice. This goes in the entrepreneur world and in marriage, family, etc. If you discover this thing, whether it's gratitude or whatever it is that for you kind of changes the way you interact with life, you cannot force it on others. Well, here's
That's
this
for
thing,
sure. Yeah.
right? Like, my wife would be sort of like, this is terrible, this isn't going. And I'd be like, babe, if you thought about flipping the gratitude switch with that? And she'd be like, shut up, right? It was like, she didn't want to hear it.
Right.
You can't take your mindset and what's been a difference maker for you and enforce it on somebody else. All you can do is suggest and give them the opportunity. Open the door and allow them to walk through. And if they don't walk through, just love them until they decide to walk through.
Well, yeah, and just keep living or modeling, right? And just keep
right.
being grateful. It's the same. That came up. Someone was just telling me, I've never been to a Tony Robbins event, but someone was telling me one of the big things that they tell people is like, look, when you go home, don't go and try to change everyone around you. Like, because they didn't just go through this 3-day event with us. Right. And so they're not in the same state you're in. And so just don't go to try to change the world yet. Like, just change you, focus on you, get better, be better, do more.
That's right.
Be more grateful, you know.
I always say, I want to change the world one flip at a time. And here's what I mean by that. Not even one person at a time. I just mean me personally flipping the gratitude switch when stuff comes up. And then if somebody listens to this radio show or reads the book and they make one single decision today to flip the gratitude switch when they otherwise wouldn't have, the ripple effect, as you said earlier, that's going to have on others around them and on them personally is immeasurable. And it's going to be one flip at a time, one decision at a time, one moment at a time, that things will be different, that things can make a difference. So for me, it was get it out there, put it out there. What's been a game changer for me, let people interact with that, and then let them choose what they want to do. And I had to learn that. And by the way, as an entrepreneur, we have a tendency to like barf our ideas on other people.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I have this super cool thing that I want to sell you, give you whatever. Here it is. And we never win that deal. And it's the same sort of thing. Model, like you said, model, be it, represent it well. And over time, one of my favorite quotes is from Viktor Frankl. And he says something along the lines of, if you'll just focus on doing the right thing for you, that in the long run, and he also says, don't think about success. Success comes precisely because you forget to think about it. You focus on doing the right thing over time and consistently. And then he says this, he says, and I tell you that in the long run, I say, success will find you precisely because you forgot to think about it. And I've kind of realized that as an entrepreneur through this whole thing. It's like, if I have this great idea, I can share it with others. I don't have to force it on them. I just model it and I do it and I live it. And over time, it may not be today, but over time, they will come to me. And they will say, what was that thing again? And now I have an opportunity, the door's open, and I could serve and give value to them.
So how many of your friends have like accused you of like wanting to start a cult now?
Yeah, it's actually,
we got this a retreat that we're doing.
Well, the nice thing is my buddy who does the like breakthrough events, I'm pretty sure his company is a cult. So most of the people that know me know him, and they're like, you definitely aren't like him because there is no chanting when it comes to you. So I'm pretty sure you're good.
That's funny.
So far, we're okay.
Yeah. That's great. Any real cult is like culture is what Russell Brunson keeps kind of preaching. Like, you do have to build a culture, build a tribe, and build a group of people that kind of start following your message. And that sounds like what you're doing. As more and more people start flipping the switch, those ripples will continue to go.
That's right.
Give me one like actionable takeaway for listeners of what they can do other than other than go to flipthegratitudeswitch.com
Sure.
and get your book. And you guys, he's giving away 2 chapters of the book. If you just go there, you can download it for free. But other than that, what is something they can do, that an actionable thing that they can do today to just get the momentum going in this better, more positive direction?
Yeah. Can I give you a 2-step formula that I feel is the absolute key to like happiness all across the board?
Well, I guess.
So I believe there's just 2 things you have to do every day, and you'll have unlimited and unrestrained happiness and joy. One of those is gratitude. But while it takes a little bit of time to cultivate and activate gratitude, this other one I'm going to share with you, you could do right away. I don't care what time it is today. You could you could turn this radio show off and go do it immediately. You do not have to wait for this. And here it is. What would the world look like? Imagine if everybody just selflessly served one person one time each day. Right? Like, here's what this means. It doesn't have to be you go rake somebody's leaves, although that's not a bad idea. But what if today, just as an example, so I've got my little drink from Maverick here. What if on my way home or tomorrow or whatever, I'm there and there's somebody behind me that has a fountain drink that looks just like mine. And I turn around and I say, I'm going to buy his too. Right? What just happened for the person behind me? The extra $1.50 doesn't mean anything to me, but they will never forget that. And what's that? It's going to give them, they're going to get a shot of dopamine, which we talk about in the book, which is going to give them a desire to go and do good. And you're going to get a shot of dopamine too. And you're going to feel like, wow, that was kind of awesome. They were really happy. It's that simple. Let me give you another simple example. You know how your wife or your husband always wants you to do that one thing that you hate to do? Just go do it, like right now. Right? If it's the dishes, if it's folding the towels a certain way, if it's picking your clothes up off the ground, which is one of my things, whatever it is, just go do that simple thing. Here's an even simpler one. The next time you see somebody that looks down in the dumps, smile at them. I mean, I know that seems silly, but that is a form of service that you're rendering. You are giving something of you to someone else, expecting nothing in return. If everybody would serve one person just one time, selflessly each day, imagine what this world would look like. Not only would it cultivate more gratitude, because that's a 2-step formula, feel gratitude inside of frustrations and serve one person at least one time selflessly each day. So that's the actionable takeaway. Do that once today. Make it small, but it will be awesome. You'll feel great. They'll feel great. And it'll have a ripple effect that you won't be able to measure.
So basically the big takeaway is verbify gratitude. Go out and spread that gratitude out there, send it out into the world. I enjoyed this partially because I just enjoyed watching your passion for it. There's no shortage of belief in this for you. And I love that. I also enjoyed it because it's simple. And so everyone out there should be doing, and as entrepreneurs, a lot of the people listening to the show are entrepreneurs. Some of you just might be listening and maybe an employee, or maybe you're not even working. You're just a spouse or a friend or a family member or something. But one of my favorite quotes is, man radiates what he is. And that radiation affects to a greater or lesser degree those that are around him. And so what that means is that, like, if you are a bummer, people around you get bummed out.
Totally.
So step one from what I'm hearing from you is stop being a bummer. Just if all you can do is smile at someone, if you can't even smile, just open the door for them. Just do something to get that momentum going into the direction of positivity and happiness. And it doesn't have to be huge, right? It's small things.
Well, and like you said, here's the thing. Why be a bummer when all that is your choice of perception? Because what's real is that life's going to happen no matter what. If something happened that wasn't great, you can't fix the fact that it happened because it already did. The only thing you can fix is how you choose to react to it when it does. And that's how you make that shift in perspective. And that's how you make that shift in your life.
Awesome. Hey, I appreciate you coming out on the show. Again, I've said it a couple of times, but go to flipthegratitudeswitch.com, check out more about Kevin and the book. I think he's even got like a free light switch cover or something on there too. There's some cool stuff that you can go check out. All right, Kevin, you're the man. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, brother. Take care.